Hello, my name is Cassandra Zweigert, and this is my presentation on emotional intelligence. I would like to explain why and how emotional intelligence impacts learning. This is my why. This is why it is very important to me that we teach emotional intelligence in school and that students fully grasp it. These are some of my students that I hope they will be able to grasp emotional intelligence before they leave here and enter the workforce. Perhaps a bigger reason why I am passionate about emotional intelligence is this picture right here. This is my small little family, my 4 children. I pray that they will be able to leave the safety nest that we have provided here, and I pray that they will be able to leave and enter the workforce understanding emotional intelligence. I would like to start out with the definition of emotional intelligence. The definition, according to Peter Salovey and John Mayer, is the ability to monitor one's own and other people's emotions, to discriminate between different emotions and label them appropriately, and to use emotional information to guide thinking and behavior. This definition was later broken down and redefined into 4 proposed abilities. They are perceiving different emotions, using emotions, understanding emotions, and managing emotions. There are 3 main models of multiple intelligence. They are the ability model, the mixed model, and the trait model. We will talk about all of them, but the mixed model is perhaps more widely used and more understood. To begin with, the ability model is a model that views emotions as useful sources of information that help one to make sense and navigate the social environment. This model claims that emotional intelligence includes 4 types of abilities. The perceiving emotions, this is the ability to detect and decipher emotions in faces, pictures, voices. This includes the ability to identify one's own emotions and perceive others' emotions. The next one is using emotions. This is the ability to harness emotions and facilitate various cognitive abilities, such as thinking and problem solving. The emotional intelligent person can capitalize fully upon his or her changing moods in order to best fit the task at hand. The third one is understanding emotions. This is the ability to comprehend emotional language and appreciate complicated relationships among emotions. For example, understanding emotions encompasses the ability to be sensitive to slight variations in emotions, as well as the ability to recognize and describe how emotions evolve over time. The fourth one is managing emotions. This is the ability to regulate emotions in both ourselves and others. Therefore, the emotional intelligent person can harness emotions, even negative ones, and manage them to achieve intended goals. The next model is the mixed model. This was introduced by Daniel Goleman in 1998. This focuses on a wide array of competencies and skills that drive leadership performance. He felt that there were 5 major divisions. The first one was self-awareness. This is the ability to know one's emotions, strengths, weaknesses, and drives, values, goals, and recognize their impact on others while using that gut feeling to guide decisions. The second one is self-regulation. This involves controlling or redirecting one's disruptive emotions and impulses and adapting to changing circumstances. The third one is social skill. This is managing relationships to move people in desired directions. The fourth one is empathy. This is just considering other people's feelings, especially when making decisions. I feel that this one is big and maybe lacking the most in schools. The fifth one is also lacking some, and that's motivation. This is just being driven to achieve for the sake of achievement, not because of grades, not because of anything else, just the sake of achieving. The third model is the trait model. This was derived by K.V. Petrides, and it refers to an individual's self-perceptions of their emotional abilities. This is a self-report and often hard for people to judge or to measure. So what can we do with all of this information? Why is it important in the school system? How does it affect us? As you know, bullying is a huge deal in most schools. Our little Southwest Kansas school has had some amount of bullying. Bullying is the abusive social interaction between peers that can include aggression, harassment, and violence. Emotional intelligence is a set of abilities related to understanding the use of management of emotions that relates to oneself and others. This can greatly help bullying. If we go back to the original definition, emotional intelligence is accurately perceiving emotion, using emotions to facilitate thought, and understanding emotion and managing emotion. Therefore, it can be assumed that lower emotional intelligence appears to be related to the involvement in bullying. People that bully and or bullied often have the lower emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence could greatly improve bullying prevention and intervention initiatives. Also, health. We tend to have several students that have great amounts of absences. Our attendance policy is not working at this point. We have very high rates of absences. In 2007, there was a study by Schulte that found that emotional intelligence is associated with better physical and mental health. It is my opinion that with some increased emotional intelligence and maybe these students would come to school more often. The third thing that I feel is relates to schools is self-esteem and drug dependence. A 2012 study examined emotional intelligence, self-esteem, and marijuana dependence. Out of a sample of 200 people, 100 of whom were dependent on marijuana and the other 100 were emotionally healthy, the dependent group scored exceptionally low in emotional intelligence when compared to the control group. They also found that dependent group also scored low in self-esteem when compared to the control group. Therefore, you can put two and two together and see that the ones that lack self-esteem have low instances of emotional intelligence. What do we do in school to make emotional intelligence widely accepted, to make it part of our everyday learning environment? We need to stress 5 areas of emotional intelligence, including self-awareness, emotional control, self-motivation, empathy, and relationship skills. Good communication with others is a gateway for better learning, better friendships, better academic success, and in the future for better employment. Examples in which emotional intelligence can be used and taught in schools is active listening. Active listening is a key part to helping create genuine two-way communication, and it is about far more than just paying attention. It involves genuinely following dialogue and responding to others with body language and an appropriate conversation. Then they will be able to demonstrate that they have understood verbally, summarizing back key messages that they have received. They also need a vocabulary for feeling. A researcher, Lisa Barrett, suggests that interpersonal skills can be enhanced by helping students increase their emotion vocabulary. Encouraging students to understand the difference between just sad and disappointed and using a bigger vocabulary will help in the future getting along with people and understanding others' emotions. Next, developing self-awareness. We need to help students develop self-awareness. When they have low self-awareness, we're at risk of not realizing how we come across to others. When we don't understand how we are perceived by others, it will maybe skew our behavior and social interactions. Next is showing empathy and being with others. Empathy is the ability to take and perceive the perspective of another person while being non-judgmental, recognizing that emotions are feelings and they are able to convey their perspective back to them. Reflecting back on a person's perspectives helps to make a person feel understood. This is a big emotional milestone that kids need to learn in order to get along well in society. Last is managing emotions and self-regulation. The ability to manage one's thoughts and feelings is one of the most effective and efficient ways that we can support students. This is especially so in secondary schools where I work as a FACS teacher, where the gap between impulse control and sensation seeking is like at the widest during the teenage years. If we can help students understand these 5 issues and we can help them learn to listen actively, to have a big vocabulary, to develop self-awareness and show empathy, and to be able to self-regulate, they will succeed in the future. In conclusion, emotional intelligence is a skill that can increase one's overall well-being. I would like to tell a short story about this picture here. After some hard times on a family in which they didn't have much food, they didn't have much means, another student decided to have a food drive, demonstrating strong social, emotional intelligence. They had a food drive with the grade school here at USC 371, and this is all the food that was received from them to take to families in need in the area. It's projects like this that show how emotional intelligence and reading others will help them in the future. And here are my references. Thank you, and I hope that you learned something about emotional intelligence.